Why should we take care of semi-natural habitats? Semi-natural grasslands have traditionally been used as pastures or haylands. Semi-natural grasslands are natural. They have not been plowed, fertilized, and no seeds of cultivated plants have been sown to them at the known time. The most common semi-natural grasslands in northern Europe are grasslands on mineral soils, flooded meadows, wet meadows, on lake and river sides, coastal meadows, wooded pastures, and rare alva meadows on limestone soil. Why should we then manage and protect semi-natural grasslands? All our semi-natural grasslands are included in the range of habitats protected at the European Union level. Maintaining their favourable status is necessary globally, as it is a very important area of responsibility for the survival of our global biodiversity. Semi-natural grasslands are characterized by a very large diversity of herbaceous plants. They are an important habitat for hundreds of vascular plant species. Many semi-natural grasslands also stand out with their rare small-scale species richness. Estonian lilac to wooded meadow is one of the most species-rich plant communities in the world. Many other species benefit. The species richness of vegetation also creates conditions for the abundance of other groups of biota. Many insects, birds, mosses, lichens, and soil biota are associated with meadows. Ancient indigenous landscapes. It is important to know that the species associated with semi-natural grasslands are Europe's indigenous biota. These meadow species inhabited ancient natural open and semi-open ecosystems that were widespread in Europe at least since the Pleistocene, which is 2.4 million years ago, hundreds of thousands of years before the appearance of humans. Ancient indigenous landscapes. The widespread distribution of meadows and the large herbivores that have kept them open for millions of years is also the reason why many European species are associated with meadows and semi-open ecosystems. To the right up you can see a painting from a cave in France of an ancient European bison. It's the forefather to our cattle. And to the right down you can see a map of where the European bison is distributed nowadays. You can see small green spots of separated small populations left. A larger population we have in Poland. On this picture you can see a landscape of a woman milking some native cattle in Finland 100 years ago. During the last millennia, man and cattle have played a leading role in keeping landscapes open, and thus the natural values of semi-natural grassland and related species are preserved only with our help. Moving and grazing. Without moving or grazing, the meadows become overgrown and eventually are forested. They grow full of bushes, trees, and reed beds, and then change their species composition. To the right you can see a coastal meadow, up where it has not been grazed or moved, and down one that is regularly moved. Semi-natural grasslands play an important role in the conservation of biodiversity in the open landscape, as they provide habitat and feeding for many rare species of fungi, animals and plants, and help to preserve the biodiversity of agricultural land and the diversity of the landscape. To the right, you can see a rare plant, moonwort. This plant doesn't like fertilizers, so it grows usually on soil that has been fertilized at all. Semi-natural grasslands are important providers of natural goods or ecosystem services, ensuring the preservation of pollinators, natural enemies of pests, and rich soil biota. Meadows are important stable carbon storers and mitigators of climate change. Network for biodiversity. In order to ensure the protection of biodiversity, a network of protected areas is established. These are the core areas for the protection of biodiversity. A well-functioning habitat network for biodiversity is important, and this is why landscapes inside protected conservation areas and outside protected areas must also contribute to the conservation of biodiversity. To the right, you can see a view of the Finnish landscape. Finland is mostly dominated by forests. Let's have a quick look then how the situation in Finland is. On the first map in the middle of the page, you can see the Finnish national parks. Most of the Finnish national parks are actually forested areas. Only few of them, for example, in the archipelago, we have areas where also farmers have agricultural activities in the parks. You understand this if you look at the map to the right, the map of the percentage of forests in different parts of Finland. As you can see, even those who have the lowest amount of forest have between 30 to 40% of their area forested. So most of Finland, it is totally covered by forests. In comparison, let's have a look at Estonia. On the first map, you can see the green infrastructure of Estonia, that's forests and bog areas. And it looks like a spider net web all over the country. If you have a look then to the right, it's the area of the national parks or protected areas in Estonia. You can see that also these areas are quite scattered out over the country. Some places have, though, less of these protected areas. For example, here around Jõgeva and also in Virumaa, there are a lower amount of protected areas. Impact on human and their economy. Semi-natural grasslands are not only important from a nature conservation point of view, but also, one, have a socio-economic impact, as their maintenance is an important source of livelihood in rural areas. The existence of semi-natural grasslands in good condition supports the tourism sector as well, preserving the traditional and beautiful landscape and the opportunity to get acquainted with different species of plants and animals. They diversifies rural life and ensures the diversity of food production practices and a diverse food supply throughout countries globally. The food from the semi-natural grasslands is clean, free of plant production products and fertilizers. This in turn supports better health and well-being of people. Support in EU. According to a report prepared by the European Commission, support for the restoration of semi-natural grasslands and maintenance of them is one of the most effective investments within the framework of the Common Agricultural Policy. These measures preserve the diversity and biodiversity of agricultural landscapes. On the picture beneath, you can see the changes in biodiversity on farmland due to the intensification of farmland use. In semi-natural habitats and extensive agriculture, you have a high number of species and grassland habitats. When there happens an intensification of agriculture, you get a gradual decline of species and grassland habitats. In very intensive agricultural, high nutrient input, significantly decline of species and grassland habitat. Semi-natural grasslands and landscapes are an important part of our cultural history, our identity, and sense of the landscape.